Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to head deep into the woods. Now, you probably think you know what a forest is, right? But what if I told you there's so much more going on than meets the eye? A secret life, a hidden language, and a powerful survival strategy that, honestly, holds some pretty big lessons for all of us. We look at a forest and we think stillness, peace, quiet. But science is showing us it's more like a bustling city. Every single leaf, every branch, it's all part of this massive, incredibly active chemical factory that's constantly talking with the atmosphere around it.
Right, so what are they actually saying? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And to figure it out, we have to look way beyond what our eyes can see, into this invisible world of chemical conversations that are happening all around us all the time.
So, for our first stop on this journey, we're heading to a research tower, perched way, way up above a forest canopy. Scientists there are essentially, well, they're eavesdropping on the tree.
Okay, so picture this. You're 50 meters in the air, standing on a tower that pokes out 10 meters above the treetops. Up here, researchers are measuring this constant give and take of chemicals between the forest and the sky. And believe me, they are looking for a lot more than just CO2.
They're on the hunt for these things called volatile organic compounds, or VOCs for short. The easiest way to think about it is like this. It's the forest breathing out. So while the trees are breathing in CO2, they're breathing out thousands of these different complex chemicals. That classic pine forest smell? Yep, that's what you're smelling, VOCs.
And here's the really cool part, the big breakthrough. They've realized this isn't just happening randomly. The release of these VOCs is tied directly to photosynthesis. So the harder a plant is working, turning sunlight and carbon into energy, the more of these compounds it pumps out. It's basically a real-time status update on how active the forest is. And this is exactly why you can't figure this stuff out by just studying one little plant in a lab. As one of the researchers, Bernard Hainisch, puts it so perfectly, a real forest is just infinitely more complex. You have to get out there and study the whole system in its own environment to even begin to understand it.
And that complexity, man, is it being put to the test. As our climate keeps changing, one of the single biggest threats to forests everywhere is drought. So the big question is, how do these super complex systems hold up when the pressure is really on?
Back in 2018, Germany got hit with this absolutely brutal, record-breaking drought. It was really a preview of the kind of extreme weather that's becoming way more common. So this gave scientists the perfect, if unfortunate, opportunity to ask a really critical question. What kind of forest is actually built to survive this future?
To get an answer, they modeled two very different forests. So in one corner, you've got the pine monoculture. Think of it like a tree farm, with neat rows of just one species. It's very common. And in the other corner, you have a natural mixed forest. Messy, diverse, with all sorts of different species and structures. It's basically uniformity versus diversity.
Then they did something incredible. They ran an 800-year computer simulation. They threw both of these forest types into scenarios where that crazy 2018 drought happened over and over again, more and more frequently, just to see which one would bend and which one would break. The results for the monoculture? Yikes, it was not pretty. As the droughts got more frequent, the forest just became unstable. The total biomass, that's all the living stuff, it just plummeted. It simply couldn't handle the stress.
But the mixed forest? That was a completely different story. It definitely took a hit at first, but then something truly amazing happened. It started to adapt, it recovered, and after about a century, it hadn't just bounced back, it was actually storing even more biomass than it was before the droughts even started.
So how on earth did it do that? What's the secret sauce for the mixed forest? Well, the answer is pretty incredible. It all comes down to its ability to change.
The simulation showed it adapted in three key ways. First, there was a community shift, where the trees that were naturally more resistant to drought started to take over. Then a trait shift, where the average wood density of the trees actually increased to survive better. And finally, a structural shift, where the forest began to favor shorter, older trees.
This all points to a really powerful idea in ecology called the biological insurance hypothesis. The best way to think about it is like a financial portfolio. A monoculture, with only one species, is like putting all your money into one risky stock. If it crashes, you lose everything. But a mixed forest? That's a diversified portfolio. It has tons of different species and traits. So when one strategy fails under pressure, another one is right there, ready to step up.
Now, this resilience thing, it's not just a neat local story.
It has huge, and I mean huge, implications for the entire planet. Because when we're talking about all that forest biomass, what we're really talking about is carbon.
Just take a look at this global view. It shows you exactly how critical these ecosystems are. Earth's forests are our planet's great carbon banks. You can see these massive reserves they hold, with the absolute densest storage happening in the tropical, temperate, and boreal forests.
And the total amount of carbon locked away in the world's forests, just in the trees and soil alone, is almost unbelievable. It's 646 gigatons. To put that in perspective, that is more carbon than we currently have in our entire atmosphere, just sitting there, locked away.
This chart breaks it down for us. You can see the tropical forests hold the most carbon, then temperate, then boreal. But here's the part that should really make you stop and think. Look at how tiny the protected portion of each bar is. It's shockingly low. Only 19% of tropical forests, 15% of temperate, and just 10% of boreal forests are officially protected. So every single year, our forests are in this epic tug of war. They do an amazing job, pulling about 15.6 gigatons of CO2 out of the air. But at the same time, we release 8.1 gigatons right back into it through deforestation. So yeah, they're still helping, a net sink of 7.6 gigatons, but we're cutting their effectiveness almost in half.
And all of this science, all this data, it leads us to one single, incredibly important conclusion. If we're serious about fighting climate change, we have to understand that not all forests are created equal. The untouched, old-growth primary forests, these are our climate superstars. They are the MVPs. Their biodiversity makes them the most resilient, and the numbers don't lie. Unlogged temperate forests, they store up to 55% more carbon. Those huge old trees, they suck up carbon 3 times faster than smaller ones. They are, and I can't stress this enough, simply irreplaceable.
So, from their secret chemical chatter to their incredible built-in survival strategies, forests are this unbelievably powerful and sophisticated natural ally. The science is crystal clear about what makes them strong: diversity and integrity. Which really just leaves us with one final big question to think about. Knowing everything we know now, are we actually doing enough to protect them?